Thank you. Ready?
Yes, I'm all YouTube up today.
Okay. Doesn't seem like we're gonna learn tonight. No, we should, but there's a bringing that.
For bringing tonight. For
He's here.
which is who got out of jail, who got married, who died, who
I think it's the Rebbe Marash's birthday.
birthday. What's the next thing? Let's start with who got out of jail. The religion of felons.
Okay, we're gonna start today. Samach Tes, Amar Aleph, 69a. We're gonna start from Amar Rav. It's about 10 lines down from the top. So, like 2-3 pages. 2 pages there.
No questions.
Okay. Got it? You found cookies? Okay.
Please, no question for this question.
Okay, we thank Hashem that they're able to learn Torah every day. In the schus of our learning, we should have the Beis Hamikdash immediately. We're learning the schus, really nishmas. Have gold of Asbar Kinyamin, and the son of Zev and Metzia, whoever needs her for Shlema. Okay, so Rav says, I'm a Rav, Meiser Shlish B'Sarcha. Remember what we're talking about over here? We're talking about people that get into these business ventures, where one person gives the investment, one person gives the money, and the other person does the labor, and then they divide it up. They divide the profits equally. The way they do that is because half of it, right? If someone's borrowing the money, then he can't pay back extra. He can't pay back interest. How does he do it? So what he does is he does the part of the money that he's borrowing that he doesn't give back the interest on. The part of the money that it's a deposit, so that still belongs to that original person. So that he makes the interest on, right? Remember how that worked? Okay. So what's happening here is he's giving him something. He's giving him like an animal or something to raise, and he says once it reaches a third profit, once it reaches 1/3, I don't know what a third is, mil gava, mil bar. If it's $100, is it another 33 or is it another 50? There's two ways of looking at a third, right? Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But it doesn't matter. He says anything after that you can keep. Now the benefit of doing that is that we created this whole problem that if he's doing the labor on behalf of the other person, for the other person, because of the loan that he received, then that's interest on the loan. So besides we had to give him we had to compensate his labor. So what he's doing is he's compensating his labor by telling him that if it makes more than 1/3, you can keep that. That's the compensation for the labor. The Rav says, Meiser Shlish B'Sarcha, what's more than 1/3 profit, Harei Mutter, that's acceptable. That compensates for the labor. Shmuel Amar, Shmuel says, says no, it's not acceptable, because let's say this venture doesn't earn more than 1/3. That means that the person did the labor for free. Labor for free. Why do you do it for free? Because he was getting the loan, and so that's really interest on the loan. So Shmuel says that's not acceptable because we don't know that it's going to come in more than 1/3. Elam Shmuel, rather Shmuel says, we have to have a set price that's for sure happening. You have to give him some compensation, a dinar, which is a zuz. Yeah, but that it has to be something. Okay, remember we said before that it could be tzia, it could be fish brine or whatever, but then we said that wasn't the halacha.
Usually it's a lot. They'll give you like a base pay, but it's like $3-4 an hour.
Pruta an hour. So Rav holds dinar that you don't have to give him a set price. But Rav said reish egla lepituma. The Rav says that if someone is giving an animal to another person to fatten it up, and then they're going to split the proceeds. When they do split it, compensation for the effort is given to the laborer. Compensation for the labor is given to the laborer by giving him the head of the animal. In other words, the whole animal they split. The whole profit of the animal they're going to split.
He gets the tongue.
And he gets the head. Does it include the tongue? Probably. Yeah, sounds good, right? So my love, huh? The eyes. My love, that what's happening here is he's telling him you're getting two things. First of all, anything that's more than a third, you're going to keep because Rav allowed that. And he's also telling him that he also keeps the head, which means that Rav is also holds like Shmuel, that you have to get something that's definite. And you're also going to get that extra part. Umar says, like, that's not the case. Then there wouldn't be a machlekes Rav and Shmuel. What's happening is, what he's telling him is that you can get, if there is profit, then that profit is good. If there is profit over the third, then that's fine. And if there isn't profit, then at least you'll get the head. So that's like a security, but you don't get the head if there's more profit than the third. You just get the extra profit. That's what's happening.
You're saying whichever is more, not whichever is less.
If there is no more profit, then he has to give him something. He has to give him the head. And if there is more profit, then he doesn't get the head. Yeah, something.
In English, it says either the profit in excess of 1/3 of the capital, or the head, whichever is less.
Whichever is less.
And that's
no, not whichever is less. What is that? I don't even know what that means. Whichever is less.
In other words, let's say the profit is worth more than the head of the animal. He only gets the herdsman.
I see what he's saying. I see what they're saying. That he can choose which one he wants to give him. The owner, the investor, can choose what he wants to give him, either the head or the.
So it's allowing the owner to choose the salary he desires only when both options exist, according to Torah's time. It says.
No, I didn't actually understand it like that, but I'm fine with that. I understood it that if there's more profit than the third, then he automatically takes that and he doesn't get the head. That's how I understood it. Okay. Or we can say, you see, we have to resolve the issue that Shmuel is raising on Rav, that it's possible that he's going to end up working for free, which would be interest. So how do we resolve that? So we could say that when did Rav say that that his compensation for the labor be the excess of 1/3 profit? Anything more than that, he keeps entirely. He doesn't divide that. That would be, but then there's a problem because maybe it won't come in. It says, "Going the islay behema ledidei." Talking about that the laborer also has his own animal, besides for the one that he's getting from the investor. And Amri Inshi, because people say, Gavalatura, Gavalatrei. Well, there's got to be an English expression for this. That feeding one.
Feed for one ox.
Fix it
for
for
several ox.
which means it's once you have one.
Making dinner.
Yeah.
So another person coming.
Yeah. Once you're cooking, you can cook for a few. But here it's mixing the fodder. Mixing the feed. Okay. So which means that it's not much labor. So that's what we're saying, that he doesn't really need to be compensated. But he will give him the compensation if it's more than a third.
The likelihood of it being more than a third is very slim.
Right.
This is all the money.
Rebbe Lazar, may I?
Saying goes slim to none and slim is out of town.
What does that mean, slim to none?
meaning it's very slim, if not
Ah.
nothing.
Okay.
And slim,
Is that a
cocoa is out of town.
Naftali, you're missing out on Divrei Reni. Okay. Rabbi Lazar me'agronya zavin behema v'yov le larisei v'fatim le v'yov le reshabagre v'yov palga ravcha. Rabbi Lazar me'agronya bought an animal, and he gave it to a sharecropper, which is like this worker that works for a laborer that works for half the profit, and he fattened the animal up. And as a reward for that, compensate the efforts, he gives him the head, right? Like Rav said, like that the head goes to the laborer, and he also gets half of the profits. He gets half of the profits. Amalei debisu. So the wife of this aris of this laborer says to the husband, yeah, the wives don't always have the best business advice, but you follow it anyway. Shalom bias, you lose money. All right. So the wife said, if you become a partner, you'll get also the tail. You know, if you also invest, you'll get even more. Here, he's not investing anything. He's just doing the work. He said, and imagine if you do the work plus invest. So the next time, Azal Zavan Bade, he goes and he purchases the animal. They each put in half the money. But it came time to dividing up. Instead of giving him the tail, they divided the tail. Amalei says, okay. So the Rabbi Lazar said, second. So Rabbi Lazar says to the Aris, he says, let's go divide the head. Amalei, so he says, 1 second. Hashtim kimikar namilai, 1 second. I used to get the head. But now I have to split it. I thought I would get the tail because I'm investing as well. I should get even more. This is Amalei. Rabbi Lazar tells him, until now, the money was all mine. If I didn't give you a little bit extra, it would look like your labor was interest. So I have to give you a little bit extra. But now we're partners. My kamrat, what are you going to tell me? That you worked a little harder? It minimizes the labor. It says, people say, the workers always work hard. The laborers always work hard. That's not now. So what he's saying is that a partner doesn't have a concern of interest. Each of them own half. There's no real loan here for each partner. They said, okay, so I should pay you for your labor. He says, no, you're the worker. You work hard. It's not always equal in partnership. I guess that's what he's telling him. No? So what is the question is, what is the Rebbe Lazar doing what is he, how is that a fair partnership when one person does all the work and they each put half the money?
Did he do any work?
No. But he's telling him that, oh, okay, that you're used to that. Is that fair?
I mean, I can't speak to it such as that here, but someone puts the money in, takes the risk.
Say they both put the money. I thought he was lending him the other half in lieu of him giving the money.
That was the original.
The Quran says how you mentioned it, but then here it says that he co-signed it, the shirt carbon.
Co-signed it. But it would be the same thing. Co-sign means that they each paid the.
No. Who co-signed it?
That they both invested half the money, right? Because he says, his wife says that if you become a partner.
Yeah, become a partner on like a signature loan. It's not saying that he's paying for half of it. He says, you make more as a partner.
No, Rashi says, Ilu nasata chatzi amayis. If you give half the money, visa shutef bebehema, become a partner. You'll get even more. You'll get even the tail.
He just walked in.
Okay. We say that a laborer always works hard for the owner, and he puts himself into it in order to bring the animals to pasture. Okay, Tana Rabbanan, start in a brisa. Someone praises an animal to which means that they're going to make this type of partnership where one person's going to fatten up the other animal, or raise the animal, and one person owns the animal, other person is going to do the labor. So how long how long is that arrangement? How long does he have to take care of it until he says, okay, I want my money? So, or maybe they sell it and get the profits. When can he cash out? So Simcha says when it comes to a female donkeys, 18 months. Goydris, when it's young, sheep, that's 24 months. If he wants to divide in the middle, his friend can stop him. But you can't compare the effort that goes into this year to the effort that goes into that year. Aval might come, or when the Gemara says aval but, what does that mean? What do you mean but, or however? Ella, rather, we have to say it like this: because you can't compare the labor of one year to the labor of another year. So, in other words, this arrangement was made knowing that the first year is going to be very hard. The second year is going to be the opposite, or the second year is going to be easy. Or Rashi has two children, or it could be the opposite. Whatever the case is, because one year has a different effort than the other one, if we say, oh, we made up that it was 50 and not 50%, now I take my 50%, then you back out, one of them is losing out because to get someone for the next year is either going to be easier or harder, and it's someone's losing out over there because it was the average of the labor that came up with this price. And this part, I'll tell you how this works in the schools. They remember this came up by COVID. I don't remember the exact details, but teachers in middle of the year, the school stopped in the middle of the year. So the schools wanted to say, okay, so we're not going to pay you for the time for the rest of the year. So they quoted one of the poskim that say, some sefer, Rabbi Kiveger, someone said that the teacher, most of his pay is given from the beginning of the year, because that's when he has to train them in. Once you have them trained in, the rest of the year is like easy. So they should the main part of the salary is the beginning of the year, not the end of the year. Like something like this. That where does the most? So that's for the hard part. Once you set up your systems, and it sort of goes by. Anyway, so what's happening here is he's telling you, okay, but I'm supposed to get half. He says, but I'm quitting after the first. The teacher that comes for the second half of the year has it much easier because all the systems are in place. So over here, the guy that's raising the animal, the second half is going to work less, let's say, because the first half was much harder. The first year was much harder. Okay.
They could say, like the whole year, for say it's $100, they just put more effort at the beginning. So like at the end, they're kind of like making up for the extra effort that they put. Like at the end, they're making up extra money.
For the next year. So they divided it equally over 12 months, let's say. But really, it's really 80% was for that first few months. So if he stops in the middle,
But those, if he stops in the middle, like the pay for the last month makes up for the extra effort that they did at the beginning.
right?
Like they still should get. the
They
same
still
thing.
should get something equivalent to the original,
No matter what, it's
Right.
like the whole year, it's one amount.
right?
What's the Gemara trying to do in the sugya? Is it trying to figure out how little you can give and still satisfy this requirement of the heteriska?
That was until here. I think right here we're talking about cashing out.
Cashing out. Okay.
The bottom it mentions is like the bigger the animal, the more it does.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that still is our topic of labor. Our topic is still the labor, but because of the labor, the way it works, that it's not equal throughout the whole time, so then that affects the cashing out. Tanya Yidach.
I'm sorry, you said that the first year, for the first year was more work, but that's the opposite of what Rashi says.
Rashi has two pshatim. Rashi has one pshat. If the first one is two, he says like this. Each one can stop the other one from cashing out early. The first one is more labor. So when the investor wants to cash out, says, "Give me the half. I want my half now." The guy says, "No, because I was looking forward to that second year when I didn't really have to do much and still get the half." So the laborer stops the investor from cashing out. And then Rashi has another pshat that it works the other way, that the first year is easier, and the second year when the animal's older, then it's harder. And then the other one can stop. Each one can stop the other one.
Which is the reality. I mean,
Oh.
Rashi's giving you two sides,
yeah,
but he's
Rashi
making
rejects-
up an answer on each.
Rashi rejects
One of them
that
is
the
real.
second one is easier. Rashi rejects that because it doesn't fit with chayav l'tapel, but it doesn't fit with the expression. Yeah, I was just putting it together, like, because either way it could work. But
So Rashi was thinking it out, gave two opinions, then in the end said.
he rejects it because of the language. It says chayav l'tapel, but it's referring to the obligation on the laborer to continue, which would look like the second one is the harder. Second year is the harder. Okay. Tani Yidach, there's another brisa. Asam behema l'chaverei ad masachayev l'tapel bevladis. How long does he have to take care of the young? B'daka lamed yoim, because the young you could cash out as well, right? Say, okay, let's split the. You're taking care of the animals. Now let's split up the offspring. Let's just split it up. The guy says, no, I want you to still to take care of it. That was the arrangement. How long does he have to take care of it? So bedak, if it's a small animal, lamed yaim, 30 days. Begasa, if it's a large animal, nun yaim, it's 50 days. He has a source for this from Bechiras. Okay. I skipped something. No, Rabbi Yossi Mebedaka Gimel Chadashim. Rabbi Yossi says a small animal is 3 months. Because it's more labor. My tipulim ruba. What does it mean? It's more labor. Because its teeth are thin. It needs its mother and the person to take care of it. But after that, this is interesting. You see, what happens is that because after 30 days or after 3 months, whatever the time is, they then divide the offspring. So now the laborer actually becomes a partner at this point in the offspring. It used to be that there was an investor and the laborer. But now when the laborer now owns part of the profits, which are the offspring, so now he owns half, and the investor owns half so now when he's working for his animals, he's working half for his own animals and half for the investor's animals. So he gets his half plus the half of the profits of the investor's animals, because that's what the labor is. The labor is right.
And if it's a bechor and it ends up going to Cohen, it's Cornish.
Yeah, that's part of the. They sold the animal to a guy that the firstborn, the thing, and then they work it out. So there's no bachar. Okay. Reb Menashe, so he gets half of the. You see what's going on, but what about the question is, what about the payment for his? What about the payment for his labor? Now he's just splitting it. You hear what's going on? He's getting all the profits from his half of the offspring. He's also getting half the profits from the investor's half of the offspring. But because he's doing the labor, he should really get compensated for the labor because he's working for the investors for free. The answer is that now he's not a borrower anymore. When he was borrowing, then we had to make sure that he's not doing the labor because he was borrowing. Now that he's a partner, because he owns half the animals, he's not borrowing anything anymore. So the labor doesn't need to be compensated. I think Rashi spells it out.
How does he end up like owning part of the animals by himself? Wouldn't it also be like part of
Yeah,
also
well,
belong to
the mother, the first animals, they belong to the investor, and he just gets the profits. But the profits also include half the offspring. So now they have the offspring, now that it has offspring, it's 10 offspring, 5 belong to the laborer and 5 belong to the investor.
Why don't they just divide the 10 all 50?
Even if they do the 10 all 50-50, let's say however they want to do it. But nevertheless, he owns half and he owns half. So then no, 1 second. Yeah, I want to cut it like that. Whatever the case is, if you put it into a value. So he's working on behalf of his own, and he's working on behalf of the other one, but he's not working because of any loan anymore. When there was a loan, he had to be compensated for his efforts, because it could be that the reason why he was putting in the labor was a payment for the loan, which that's interest. But if he had the loan, there's no loan anymore, because he already has his own investment there. Right? Partners now. Okay. Rav Menashe bar Gada shakal mechza shalei v'chatzi mechza b'shel chaveri took half for himself, and he took half of the other guys also, because that's after the profits. Also, l'kamid Abaya comes to Abaya Malay. Abaya says, "Man polyglot. Who evaluated this? Who divided this with you? Was the investor there when you divided it? In our area, this is a place where you have to raise. We'll see on the next page. The Mishnah tells us that in some places you actually have to take care of the animal until it gets raised. And you're cashing out early. You have to keep it the whole time. You have to raise it. Okay. Which basically is Abai is telling him that you weren't supposed to make that division on your own and just cash out without the owner being there. There were 2 Kutim Samaritans. Yeah. So the Avediska Bahadiyadadi, they did this type of business. One of them cashed out without his friend being there. Also, came to Papa. What's the difference? When it comes to value, when it comes to cash, there's no difference between this money and that money. It's the same money. You have the other person to be there to see who takes the 10s, who takes the 20s, who takes the 5s, the whatever. It's the cash.
Cash is king.
Lashana, the following year, Zav and Chamra. They bought, I assume it means wine. Any other, does it mean a donkey in any of the translations? It means wine, right? They bought wine together. Come idach, the other one got up and he divided it without, he took some of the wine. Also, Papa, then he divided, he cashed out. You come to Rav Papa, who divided it for you? 1 second. It says last year when the other guy divided it without me being there, you told him it was fine. This year when I take the wine, now you're telling me I wasn't allowed to do that. Maybe you have something against me, because this is the second year in a row that you're paskening against me. So Basar Didika, you're coming after me. Amar Rav Papa says, no. In this case, you definitely need to inform the other partner what you're doing when you're cashing out. Zuzi mishakal tavi v'shavik chasri. When it came to the coins, did you leave the heavy one, the missing ones, and take the good ones? You know, basically, when it comes to coins, they're all the same. You didn't take the better coins, the shiny ones, and leave the other one. Amalei loy, it says no, I didn't do that. Amalei, but chamra, when it comes to wine, kuli al miyadi, they could the basim, it could lay basim. That wines, there's many different grades of wine. There's some that smell better than others, and you probably took the best barrels. You know, you need the other person there to divide the wine. You want this, you want that one. Okay. That division they have to do together. Gufa. We was taught Amar Rav Nachman Zuzi Commander Pligi Dami. Was this actually taught from Rav Nachman? Yeah. Rav Papa said when it came to money, it's already considered divided. Says Hani Mili, this is only Tavi Vatavi. If they're both good currency. Tikuli Vitikuli, they both have the same weight. Abel Tavi Vitikuli, but one has a good currency, and one has a heavy weight than light. Now there's different explanations for this, but basically it could be that someone wants more change and less larger coins, and someone wants coins that are easier to use. So if they would be different denominations, then they really should be dividing it together. It's only if they're all singles, so then it doesn't matter. If they're all hundreds, it doesn't matter. You know, because otherwise someone may have a preference to which one he wanted. Rav Chama is a later.
By the way, nowadays the equivalent
Rav
is
Chama.
20s.
20.
Everybody accepts 20s, but you go in stores, if you have even brand new 50s and 100s from the bank, some stores they'll take 50s maybe. Well, give you a little hard time with them.
Right.
But nobody ever questions it.
Right. But also these little stores, they don't like when you give them 100, take all their change for the day, and then you give them 100, you spend $1, they lose all their change.
That's assuming that there's change. The bill was $90.
But I also think they mitigate the risk. If the 100 is counterfeit, they lost $100. The 20 is counterfeit, it's not loss.
A year. Interesting. In that book, Counterfeit Lives, there's a Holocaust book. There was this group of Jewish artists that the Nazis took to counterfeit American dollars. They didn't have them do hundreds, because hundreds everyone checks. They had them do 5 and 10s. They treated them better because the hands needed to be steady. So
You know how they got caught?
No.
Because all the bills said, got.
Okay. That's interesting. It's a good book. One of the guys in that he met over there was a yeshiva bacher. So they said, okay, we'll learn together, whatever. So the guy knew Masech Nedarim with the Ran by heart. The other bacher. I guess that's what he learned since Counterfeit Lives. Yeah, he was a Radomsker Chassid, I think. Okay, Rav Chama have a Meiger Zuz. It's a CIS publication. I don't know if they still exist. Rav Chama have a Meiger Zuzi B'Pshiti. Rav Chama would do this. He would, instead of lending money, he would rent money, and he would charge for the rental. Now, Rav Chama thought that by changing the title of what he's doing, it's not considered a loan. And you see, you can't rent money. What he's basically doing is lending money and taking a fee. But he said, oh, I'm going to turn it into a rental, which rental basically means is you're supposed to give back the original item, right? So the pshita b'yoyma. Kol uzuzi de Rav Chama. Rav Chama lost all his money. As the Gemara says, the people that lend with interest, their possessions diminish. Rashi quotes that Gemara. Who's Savar? And he thought, Maishna Mimara, what's the difference if I rent a hoe or rent an axe? But it's not so, because Mara Hadrabeni v'yadi pachte. You see the axe, the hoe, when you return it, the shovel, when you return it, you have to return the original shovel, and you can see the wear and tear on it. So when you're giving the rental fee, you're paying for the wear and tear. That's what the fee is. Zuzi the money you don't return. And you also can't tell if this money is a little rubbed out. You can't tell from the wear and tear on the money. Okay, so that's what he's saying, that when it comes to money, you can't claim that it's a rental. It's a loan, even if you use language that it's a rental. Amar Rava. Amar Rava says, very important halacha here. A person is allowed to tell his friend, here's 4 coins, and go lend money to so and so. Oh yeah, is it in print?
Paperback, including shipping.
Okay, very nice. Very nice. It's easy to read. You'll read it in one sitting. You'll read it in one sitting. Here's 4 coins. Lend to so and so. You see, what's happening here is the lender is getting money for lending money, which is usually interest. But the thing is that it's not coming from the borrower; it's coming from a third party. Sending you, here's a token. Go lend so and so some money. And Rava says that that's acceptable because the Torah only forbade interest that's coming from the borrower to the lender, not from a third party. Another halacha that Rava says is that I think it's the halacha actually. Do you want to take a look at that?
That's what you said yesterday with
that credit credit, yeah. Amar Rava, shari leilinish lemema leilachavri. A person is allowed to tell his friend, shakalach arba zuzi, v'amalei leplini la'is, v'amalei leplini la'is van zuzi. Take 4 coins and please speak to so and so that he should give me a loan. Which means that the borrower is paying more, but it's not going to the lender. It's going to a third party, a broker. It's going to a third party. My time, what's the reason? Scharamira kashakel. He's taking the price for to do the brokerage. But that's not considered interest.
That's a halacha. That would make like all these cash advance things kosher. They have Gentiles working for them. They say, "Oh look, do this."
No, I don't know. Ignore the worker. Ignore the worker. Here with a cash advance is you give a guy money up front, and you say at a high interest, and he pays you back more than what you gave. So why is that permissible? It's going straight directly from the borrower back to the lender. You have these guys in the middle that are talking the guy up, saying, "Don't worry, nothing's going to happen. The interest, it never comes. You're going to be fine." They lie to the guy, and then the bill comes, but it's still the money is going directly from the borrower to the lender. Yeah.
Why isn't this Scharamira kashakel? Why isn't that considered
Interest? Bribery is only when there's a person of authority. That's when you have bribery. When
Like a shelf,
like a judge or something that you're relying on his advice or something like that.
I
Right.
didn't know that. I mean, I'm not working, but I didn't know it's only by
Yeah, someone that either
politician.
either someone that's being trusted for his judgment or for his advice shouldn't be taking gifts.
There's
But
an Yaakov last night. We learned about the scheme where the judge had gold candlestick, and then.
where was
so-
this? Is this in
Last night.
Kedushin? But
I
where?
don't remember where it was, but it was a real great story. So all of a sudden he judged on her behalf, and then the Rav, who I don't remember which it was, in the end he says, and the Hamor kicked over the candlestick, something like that, to let the judge know, we knew you took it, because he was playing both sides. It was very interesting. Whatever was from last night.
Yeah. The Abba Mar braid Rav Papa. Abba Mar, that's his name, the son of Rav Papa. Abishakal Ugna the Kira Mikira. He would take frames of wax from the wax maker. Amalei Lavua from the beekeeper, I guess. Amalei Lavua is Finuzuzi. He tells his father, you should lend this guy money. I guess Rav Papa had money, and the wax, the fellow once needed a loan. Amalei Rabbanah Rav Papa. So the rabbi said to Rav Papa, Achel braid demar Rabisa. The master's son is eating interest because the loan didn't give them a free loan, but he received the wax. He gets wax for free by them. Amalahu, he says, Kolki I Rabisa Nechal, such interest is acceptable to take. It's not coming to the lender, it's coming to someone else, it's coming to the son. He's just getting a payment for a broker for telling me that I should lend money. Okay. When we spoke before about making sure that there's compensation for the labor, that was talking about an animal that doesn't give you a profit. However, an ox or a donkey that does work, that you don't need to compensate the labor because you're getting compensated by using it. And so that you just divide lemechta. You take half the profits. Some places they divide the offspring immediately, and that's fine. But in some places they have to raise the offspring, then you have to raise the offspring. Says, just like when you take the mother, we said that there was no problem. An animal that does work, you don't need to compensate for the labor. So if there's a young together with that mother, that's also fine. Even though usually for the young, you do have to compensate for the labor, but because the mother's there, the mother takes care of the young. Person can exaggerate on the price of his field, and you'll see in a moment what that means. And there's no concern of interest. So Tana Rabbanan, it was taught in the Brisa. What is this exaggerating of the field? There's no concern of ribbis. What's the case? What are you talking about? It says like this: someone rents a field, and the rental fee is 10 kor of wheat. That means that the field is going to produce, and 10 kor of wheat have to go back to the owner of the field, and the sharecropper, the guy that's taking care of the field, gets the rest.
Look at that.
I don't know how big the field is, but I'm
Like 15 feet for like a couple of feet. So it's a big field. That's
Could
only
be.
10 years get.
Could be.
So,
Of course, 30 stock. Each is 106 cap. That's 144 eggs. And what would
180. It's 100. The total of cars in a car is.
you think 6 times? Okay, 6 times 30. Okay, very good. Okay,
One
so
car for eggs that's 4,320. It's 10 cars.
lost me. You're doing good.
No.
Very good. So
Maisha, help us.
he says to him, "Tell me
Yeah,
Masayim
that's
so."
my boy.
The worker tells to the owner of the field, he says, if you would lend me 200 zuz, I'll pay you more per year. Plus, I'll pay back the loan. That's interest, right? Lend me 200 zuz, and I'll raise the rental fee of the property by two kur. I was supposed to be 10, now it's going to be 12. So look at the halacha. So it's mutter. That's acceptable. But you can't do this for a store or for a boat. Now, explanation for this is that what he's really getting over here is he's getting, because the person says, if you let me 200 zuz, I'll invest it into the field. I'll make a better field. So then basically the rental fee will actually go up because it's going to be a better field. Originally, the field was only worth 10. You give me $200, I'll make a new landscape, a new this, and all the. So now it's going to be worth 12. So it's I'll be renting the more expensive field. So you can't do that for a store or for a boat. And back then, the stores, they didn't have like fancy stores that had any. There was no, they have these supermarkets with carpet. Like they don't know such thing back then. Everything was falling from the walls. The old hardware. So Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rabba Baravua, Rav Nachman says in the name of his father, no, it is possible. There is such a thing. You can make a store with fancy designs on the walls. And the boat, you can get a new sail. That people are going to like, and they're going to come more. In the spear, because you have a better sail. You have a better sail, you're going to make more money. Maybe it goes faster or something. I don't know. Svinta, when talking about a boat, let's mention another thing. Okay, let's leave it over here by Svinta. Okay.
Let me say hi to
Tim will
Shama.
call you.
Okay.
Yeah. Coming up, 1 second. No, because there's tonight's